La-di-da. Hmm. So I'm trying to keep the volume nice and low as I listen over the random noises of cats and oh, oh, Dingo's being quiet. How about that? And of course, fish tanks. To the Michael Moore interview on MSNBC. And I noticed one thing odd. I would think that MSNBC had captions, closed captioning. No, no captions. But anyways, so what I'm watching for is just how relevant the conversation gets to Russia without him actually mentioning even the word Russia. Because what's interesting about Michael Moore is that when it comes to making sure that nobody who was suspicious suspected Russia, he played as big a part as Alex Jones or the mainstream media. Of course, the mainstream media had reason to steer away from things like provoking international conflict. But a supposed independent filmmaker or an online conspiracy theorist should have no qualms about rallying their fellow Americans around an adversary that is causing these local Americans to behave in deplorable ways. At no point in all of the different questions that Michael Moore has raised where we are left feeling like things just don't make sense did he, with all his experience and history with Russians, with communists, with history in general, very wise man he should be, hasn't made the connection yet. Never made the connection. Hasn't talked about how our seeming inability to pass common sense gun legislation, health care, how those things strategically play into Russia's hands. How many can they kill without firing a shot, just by poking and prodding the right political messages? Yes, non-violently removed from office and then summarily executed. No, I just want him in a box. I don't care if it's a coffin or a prison cell. Just hashtag Trump in a box. Pop goes the traitor. Trump in a box. Let's give him a solid gold 4 foot by 7 foot cell. Oh yeah. A little solid gold urinal he can make wine in. Oh yeah. Luxurious. Gotta live up to the standards, you know. I want to go be a prison guard in that fucking prison. Just so I can go clack on the bars with my baton and say, how you enjoying the opulence, buddy? Oh, I want to go be the prison guard where Trump gets sent just so I can sing Hail to the Chief every day. Oh, I'd organize a band. Everybody, stand and salute. The president awake. Make sure we play it bright and early, like, 4 o'clock in the morning, right when he's just passed out from watching CNN all night, covered in Cheetos and KFC. I just assume it's Cheetos and KFC because that's the only thing that can make your skin look like that. I'm guessing by the timing of the one person finally not watching, that they had enough of me making fun of their dear puppet. Third-party providers providing lots of spies for Russia. Third-party providers. That's the how the investigation's going song. Okay. I'm gonna have to watch that again because I didn't hear the word Russia one fucking time in the whole interview. You see, how to spot a Russian shill is simply by their propensity not to mention Russia during subject matters of blame regarding national importance. If you can't see it as simple as rally your people the same way a Russia would rally his own people, let's not do what the Americans would want. Sure, that's a perfectly legitimate thing for a Russian to say. Just like it'd be a perfectly legitimate thing for an American to say. Sorry, I was thinking about Michael Moore. It's a perfectly legitimate thing for an American to say, let's not do what the Russians would want. It's a simple way that a liberal person should be reaching out to a conservative person. But he's failing to do it. Hold up, the way his face was when they first put the camera on him. It looks like the captions are pretty clear, so I'm keeping the volume to where I can barely. Hey, so hard to pause these days. So that's his face when the interview first starts. While he's sitting there, he's the camera isn't on him yet. It's gonna clip and then clip away. It's one of them like where they show the person before they're supposed to show the person, you know. And that's his face while this dude's singing his praises. That's kind of weird. Hello, fish tank. And the closed captions are gone. Why? I had them on. They should stay on. What's fascinating to me is that now, with the whole connection with the Saudis and the Russians, Michael Moore should be the first person sitting there being like, we have a problem. Oh, he's talking about the top 1%. Well, guess what? The top 1% aren't a problem. At this point, we need fucking nice, rich, fat cats in this country that, you know, don't get their money from Russia. Just, you know, preferably ones who aren't racist. That's all. Ones who don't see themselves as nobility. Nothing wrong with being rich. So whoever's here must be a real person. Feel free to say hello. I saw the second person log in. It looks like when a real person logs in, the troll monitor comes just to like check and see if there's going to be a conversation or something, and gets bored quick and then leaves. Or, you know, their brains start to twitch when I start to make sense, and then they leave. Not my fault that nothing you already think actually makes any sense, so that when you hear what makes sense, it makes sense. And we're talking about healthcare for profit. And let's see here. Did we try? Oh, it's cute. The only question about Trump is whether or not we try him as an adult. That's cute. Oh, yes, the 25th Amendment. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Only I can't remember whether it was the 24th or the 25th, but Michael Moore gets to focus on one thing. I focus on 5 different things per day. So I defer to his quotation. All right. Laney, what Why are you always on me right when I have to get up? But yeah, it was like 24th or 25th of November. I can't remember. It's one of the two. If he says it's 25th, I believe him. What I don't believe is that my fucking pack of cigarettes is empty. Where are my cigarettes? What the hell? Okay. I gotta find my freaking cigarettes. Ha! Kapla! Oh, really? You gonna make the popular vote argument without mentioning Russia still? Hold up. I'm gonna back it up a little bit. See what I missed. Hi, Lainey. Come on, baby. Oh, here we go. Finally talking about Russia. 8 minutes into the interview. After we're talking about Syria. Oh, after Ari says Vladimir Putin said it publicly. Legally, but still violently, I think. I mean, come on. Rodney King get beat up, but he doesn't. That's all I'm saying. A little teenage girl getting slammed on the fucking ground. We can't just maybe give just a little nightstick to the back of the leg on Trump. Just a little nightstick to the back of the leg. That's all. What, you don't think he's gonna resist? Oh, he's gonna resist. Fucker's demon possessed. He's gonna resist. He ain't cold and calculated like Manafort. He gonna lose his shit. Ultimate control freak right there. And he's back to the Electoral College. And you took a sip of coffee. Because you got to get back on subject and force your way out of the conversation about Russia. Man, that gets you cotton-mouthed. Oh, I get it. I get it. And that was 11 minutes, 40 seconds in, I think. 35 maybe. Just call it 11 and a half minutes. And Alessandro Cortez. And the percentages and that's it. So, barely willing to talk about Russia. That's kind of what I thought. You see, in a nutshell, the way I started spotting shills was when the connections between Russia and terrorism, namely Islamic State, became obvious after it became found out that Russia was supplying Assad, who was supplying the Baathists, who became the Islamic State. Oh yeah, former Iraqi officials, Baathists. Al-Baghdadi was one of them, an Iraqi guardsman. Tank commander, I believe. And Russia was being very terroristic in Ukraine and just acting bizarrely evil in Georgia. We're just gonna build a fence and start moving it. See if anybody fucks with us. Like, wow, just really? They moved it right across his old man's property. Like, just one day he couldn't go to his fucking house anymore unless he wanted to be Russian. And all these people that were talking about all these different conspiracies were only willing to, at that point, spread Russian propaganda. They were only willing to, at that point, echo the very same anti-Obama, anti-Hillary messages, anti-Western, anti-NATO messages that were coming from known, provable Russian propaganda outlets. Nothing like some descriptive title words to make my broadcast not get notifications sent out. So all the people who worked on Trump's campaign, all the people who got it elected, all the people that said he was trustworthy, all the people that said we could support him, all the people that said his agenda is our agenda, they're gone. And they say their agenda is not Trump's agenda. So in what manner of speaking is Trump even still legitimate at all? For 2 years now, we've been saying acquiescing to the will of Vladimir Putin is him rallying his base, dividing our country, abandoning our allies, insulting our closest friends, Nobody fucking wanted him to do that to begin with. He's been serving Russia since he took office. And people have been saying it's just for the base? What? The people who are still propagandized by Russia? That is not legitimate. It's like letting a bunch of people on LSD elect Papa Smurf, okay? Like, come on. We saw him on TV. No. No. There's this conspiracy among dumbass white people who think that Russia is going to save them from the minorities. This conspiracy has existed since, at least by my direct knowledge, having been in cahoots with said fucking racist fucks, since 1991. And I would have thought that Michael Moore would have at least been willing to talk about the connections between Russia and terrorism. He's making a movie called Fahrenheit 11/9. He's already subliminally connecting 9/11 to 11/9. I mean, not that they're obviously not connected enough. But does he discuss Russia supporting the Taliban? No, he reinforces the idea that the CIA was behind the Taliban. Oh yeah, random little BBC report documentary that got aired on the fucking Discovery Channel, and a bunch of reporters and him repeating it, and then it becomes fact, and then everybody thinks the CIA started the Taliban, and that helps convince the online conspiracy community that the federal government was behind the downing of the World Trade Center. Now me, I always knew something was up. I know when somebody's bullshitting me. I had 3 older sisters. I know when somebody's bullshitting me. And furthermore, I know basic fucking science. Yeah, of course they were. But I know that the World Trade Center 7 building was intentionally imploded. That cannot be debated by a rational person. Anybody who rolls their eyes at that needs to watch both of the 2 videos that are available. One is of the Trade Center 7 building actually falling in clearly pre-planned demolition format, and the other is of the owner of said building saying that he gave the order to pull it. Not them, not people, it. a building, a thing. How's it going, Conway? Nice to see you. Chicka-boom, chicka-boom. Don't you just love it? So just in case somebody happens to watch this and wonders, since I left it at a cliffhanger, you know, I repeat myself over and over again just to hope that people become something less than completely fucking ignorant, because that's what most people are right now. Most people who get paid to give information are completely fucking ignorant on basic, crucial, foundational facts. Foundational to their understanding of political reality. The Taliban was not behind the fucking CIA. I mean, the CIA was, well, I don't think anybody's making that assertion. The CIA was not behind the Taliban. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Never at any point did any United States federal institution, business, anything, support the fucking Taliban. We had an administration that wanted to work with Russia. That's the closest thing we ever did to even talking about doing business in Afghanistan. This thing called the Unocal Pipeline Consortium. Dick Cheney said 2 weeks before 9/11, there will be an imminent military action in Afghanistan if the Taliban does not comply with the demands of the pipeline consortium. With the needs, yeah. Right. So I think Cheney fucking knows something. I don't think Bush knows anything. But you notice one thing. Bush is skull and bones. Cheney wasn't. Yo-ho. Anyways. So, the actual documented history that the BBC Learning Channel and these fucking reporters all should have known but failed to fucking tell. That it's truly tragic that 98% of the American people think that the CIA somehow created the Taliban accidentally, even if it was accidentally. They didn't. Mullah Omar was a Mujahideen fighter. So were lots of fucking people from lots of different groups. We gave this collective of different groups from different tribes in Afghanistan who were trying to push the Soviets out of their country. Military assistance. The Soviets left. Then the CIA and the State Department attaché and the United States Embassy services, diplomatic security, basically, established or helped establish a provisional government, okay, that was supposed to have elections in 6 months and have a real government get established, right? Kind of like what we did when we actually invaded. With 15,000 people. Funny sad. 50,000? No, 15,000. We until Obama, until the Pelosi leverage, until right before Obama was about to take office, we never had more troops in Afghanistan than we had police officers in New York City. That'd be 15,800 to 15,400. And we finally passed 16,000 shortly before Obama took office. And of course the highest numbers that we had there was under Obama. And he completed the surge and then actually scaled down a lot slower than most people would have accused him of on Fox News, I'm sure. But the longer we were in Afghanistan, the more Russia had us by the balls, man. And nobody knew it. Nobody knew it but Russia. Because you see, 3 months after we established this provisional government, Mullah Omar went back to the Taliban. I guess he thought he was going to be in power or something. I guess he thought something different was going to play out, and he didn't go along with the provisional government. The Taliban went to Russia. Russia gave them tanks. And when somebody gives you tanks, you always say you're welcome. Yeah. I just confused myself for a second there. I'm sorry. But anyways, they overthrew the Taliban. They overthrew the provisional government in Afghanistan that we had helped establish. At this point, Mullah Omar was part of the Taliban, no longer part of the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen no longer existed. They were just groups of rebel fighters. If you're wondering whether the CIA could see into the future, that one day the Taliban would be a fucking problem, and had thus excluded the Taliban as a group from Mujahideen activity. No, the CIA did not see into the future. They let Mujahideen, whoever the fucks wanted to fight. Whoever wanted to fight the Russians, oh yeah, we gave them fucking weapons. Duh. Anybody gets a problem with that? Like, why don't you tell me how people from Phoenix or Phoenicians or whatever like them? These are definitely the type of people. If you want to blame the CIA. At that point, after knowing all of that, if you still want to blame the CIA for the Taliban, it's basically like blaming God for free will. It's blaming God for when people do shitty things to other people. You just can't get it. You just can't get it. Anyways. Oh, my poor little zinnias. They say sometimes zinnias just go, and apparently mine are just going. They're growing up into the spot where they wanted to grow up into. They grew up there, and they all bloomed, and they were fucking fine, and then just started dwindling. I don't understand it. I do understand that for a second there I just sounded like Jiminy Glick. But that's okay. Fuck. Former Trump supporters are disgusted. Oh. Really? Now? Now you're disgusted? Man's a serial sexual assaulter. And like, we're not even talking like a frat boy on Bourbon Street, you know? Like, we're talking about somebody who pressures women into fucking letting him put his tiny little Cheeto-crusted hands on them because he's in a powerful position, because they want to be on TV and shit like that. He's the worst example of everything they complained that Bill Clinton was. Hypocrites. That's what they're called. Every last one of them. Hypocrite is the one word that needs to be used over and over again every time a Fox News viewer is listening. Everybody just write that on their index card when they go on the MSNBC or CNN or even Fox News. Just write that. There's hypocrite. And every time they say something, you just look down. Oh yeah, you're a hypocrite because this. Because just about every damn thing they say, you can tie it back to how hypocritical they are. Take it easy, Mr. Conway. Anyways. But that's the problem with Michael Moore and the Bernie babies and all these people who are basically in a separate anti-religious conspiracy, while this pseudo-religious nationalist conspiracy goes on. None of these people are willing to acknowledge hypocrisy. And the center is made silent because we're the ones who notice it. But these loudly beating voices on both sides drown out reason. And the people who claim to be the compassionate ones, who claim to be Christ-like, should, even though they disavow religion, they've all said this is what Jesus would do. They should, at this time, if no other, be constantly pointing out hypocrisy, not to advance the cause of Christianity, but simply to bring people back to reason, to exercise whatever it is that's deceiving them. You don't have to believe it's a demon to exercise it. You can exercise a psychosis with facts. The lie of Magdalene, the lie of Mary Magdalene. That's a psychosis. The fact, acknowledging the fact, removes that psychosis. It sets someone onto a path of psychological healing. Just as their conspiracy to cover up the connection between Magdalene and Alexandria lies in every lie they told about John the Baptist, and including the historical lies of tracing Anubis to a jackal. Where did they fucking get that from? Pharaoh hound. Let me just show what a pharaoh hound is. I'm gonna search for it right now. Pharaoh. Hound. What was that? Chicken? I didn't know I had chicken. I don't. Damn it, come on. Stay, you fucker. Why? Why are you so fucking retarded? Okay. This is not working. Why? You're just gonna stop showing it as soon as it's there, huh? Alright, whatever. That is a fucking pharaoh hound. It doesn't take much to see. And there are other breeds that came from that area that are very similar, that look even more like Anubis than that does. It's not a jackal. It's a relative of the greyhound. Oh. Crickety crackety crunch. Oh, look. Somebody's even made the comparison right there. That's the one that they have in Mexico. Came over a long time ago. Alright. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and roll. Apparently my wife needs me to call her. And You know, there's a reason why the Founding Fathers considered freedom of speech and freedom of religion so important. It's because of how they can both be used against a populace. With historical knowledge, with wisdom at the time, consider why the Mongolian horde had just ended. That's what all their history books said. And there was a looming question, considering how long Europe had been pushed back. There had to be a lingering question. Was it really over? And there are so many different aspects of history that those who know strategy and politics on that level can understand and discern that nations don't just fall because an army is led to a wall. They fall because the people within are instigated and provoked. Until eventually, peace is revoked. It's just so much more efficient. So we have a constitution to guard against this very efficient type of warfare, because our founding forefathers weren't dumbasses. So by swearing to uphold the Constitution, you've sworn to defend this country against this very thing. So we have to declare what this assault has been about, or we have no foundation as a nation. It may not be the duty of the federal government to announce its preference for a religion, but it is certainly the duty of the federal government to protect that religion from its right to be uncorrupt from intentional foreign manipulation that is designed to assist the downfall of this nation. If that's not your duty, what is it that the Constitution says? And what purpose is there in having a government? Just as I have said, what purpose is there in God having children if they do not have free will? It's pretty obvious why the devil's plan would involve ending it. Deception leads to a lack of freedom of choice. And you people still think Anubis was a jackal and Magdalena is a whorehouse. And don't forget, the CIA was behind the Taliban. And something about the water turning the frogs gay. Oh, okay. Oh. All those lies, they form a pattern that connects to the truth. Just like all the lies of today. And especially the accusations that point 3 fingers back. Oh, Christopher Titus, that was a brilliant joke right there. For when you point a finger, 3 fingers are pointing back at you. That's why I point like this. Okay. Go that way. You ever want to give directions to somebody, just point that way. Yeah. Go 2 blocks that way, then take a left. I mean, a right. Which, wait, no, this camera isn't backwards. Left, right. Oh, wait, no. Left, right. Ow. My wrist. Christ. That's because you're not supposed to punch prison walls. There's a lot of walls you can punch. Prison walls are not one of them. My calculation at the time was correct, but that doesn't make my fucking wrist feel better. It's about to get jumped for the 2 cigarettes that I snuck in. Anyway. Included in that calculation is the fact that I've never really needed my hands to win a fight. In fact, if I have to use my hand, that's a sign that I'm losing. Oh. Okay, so time-sensitive call, and I'm getting distracted, and gonna go ahead and go now. I was trying to do like a summary wrap-up, but I started getting on a tangent. Take it easy, y'all, and thanks for joining Mr. Conway and Murphy's, and whoever else is watching. And just consider how intellectually dishonest intellectuals are being right now, okay? And how historically inaccurate and constitutionally illiterate the whole scene of religious persecution has become. It's not healthy, and it's going to kill us all, basically. I'd register that as a bad thing.